Okay, I have the word behind me. I have the word strong behind me for a reason. I'm going to paraphrase that thing. I know you've said it before, Carrie. Other people have said it. I forget where it comes from, but it's the quote that is strong men create good times create weak men create what?
Bad times.
Hard times create strong men. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And I really think we are entering hard times here. I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm just trying to be real. And we can go over some of Biden's plans for his initial day. I mean, Trump did a lot of executive orders. All the good ones are going to be undone instantaneously when Biden gets into office, including critical race theory stuff. He wants to print $1.9 trillion. By the way, I looked up M1. What's M1 right now? Is like 6 trillion or something. So it's almost like it's a little over 6 trillion. So it's almost like a third of our money supply. I mean, there's some stuff going down. We've seen the step up in censorship. We've seen all this stuff.
Explain what is M1.
Sorry. So when you hear M0, M1, M2, M3, they're all basically measures of the money supply. M0 is the most narrow definition. It's like coins and currency in circulation and stuff that's immediately liquid. And then it goes up from there, M1, M2, M3, and they start adding savings accounts that are they start adding others, credit. They start adding stuff. So M3 is always a bigger supply than M0, right? M0 is a very narrow definition, and you can have a broad definition of money, like the whole money supply. So I was just using M1. I don't remember the exact distinction between the two. I don't follow this kind of stuff too much, but it's a significant percentage of the money that's being printed, because printing money is how politicians like to operate. So, we're going to see a lot of stuff here. And here's the thing. I know we sound hyperbolic sometimes when we talk about getting on boxcars or whatever, like this totalitarianism is coming. But the totalitarianism doesn't come, it's not going to come overnight. I mean, it may feel like overnight to people who've been big, but it doesn't come, it's not like tomorrow. It's not like Wednesday morning we're going to wake up and Biden's going to be president and it's going to be or Thursday morning, I guess, whatever, Wednesday at noon, he's going to be president and we're going to be like, all right, round up all the wrong thinkers and stick them on a boat. It's not that sudden. How it operates is it's death by 1,000 cuts. And the reason I was thinking about this, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about this a little bit. Our vulnerability is our intellectual weakness. Many of us, look, we all have issues. I'm not, excluding myself from the issues, but and when I say intellectual weakness, I'm not talking about IQ. I'm talking about really philosophy, but I'm talking about an integrated belief system where your metaphysics and your epistemology and your ethics and your politics are integrated. And that is actually rare. I know there's some people in chat who are pretty integrated. They've spent their time consciously integrating things. But most people, I think, are very disjointed. So their stance on minimum wage is unrelated to their stance on censorship on the internet, which is unrelated to their stance on war, which is unrelated to their stance on whether abortion is good, which is unrelated to the stance on everything's disconnected. And so someone comes along with a proposal. Hey, should we be in the Paris Climate Accord, or how about we limit emissions of blah, blah, blah? Or what if we do X, Y, Z? And every new problem is a conundrum for them, because at least intellectually, because sometimes they have a feeling for what they think it should be, but their answer may be completely contradictory to other stuff, because you're not operating off of a set of principles. And one thing that religion has historic... Go ahead.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
You're also talking about maybe when there's a new problem or you're talking about the people who set the opinion of the tribe. Most of the tribe doesn't even consider the new problem. They just wait to get their marching orders. Most of the tribe is just like, what do we think about the Paris Climate Accord? oh, here's 100 articles in the media telling me what I think about it.
Right. But what I'm saying is if
Yeah.
we're going to get through hard times, we need to be strong, which means we can't be those people. Right.
Right.
All of us need
Right.
to be intellectually integrated. And the reason for integration here, just to be clear, and if you do not believe in an objective reality, then you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not going to make an argument about objective reality. You can decide that gravity doesn't exist and behave accordingly and see how your life goes. So, but if there's an objective reality, there aren't contradictions in reality. Reality can't contradict itself by definition. Things can't be and not be at the same time and in the same respect. Like there isn't contradiction in reality, which means your mental model of the world can't have contradictions. If it does, it's not accurate, and you will misbehave in the world. You will make mistakes. So one of your jobs as a human, as a judging, rational human, is to take new bits of information and try to integrate them non-contradictorily into your belief system. And if you can't, if you find contradictions, it's your job to resolve the contradictions. And one thing that can help is understanding that knowledge is hierarchical. So there are principles that you can follow once you understand why those principles are in place for you and what they mean and how they apply, and then you can apply those principles. But having an integrated philosophy, having a philosophy that's not contradictory to reality and doesn't have self-contradictions as well, is kind of like a superpower against a lot of little paper cuts that the left will throw at you in order to march slowly towards the totalitarianism that they want. And in order to stand up against those, what they're going to try and do is pick people off. They're going to get some people on one issue and some people on another issue and try and incrementally adjust this thing here and adjust that thing there. And the only way to really resist that as a group of liberty-minded people is to be, each one of us, intellectually strong enough to understand, no, that thing is wrong and I know why it's wrong. I know I can assimilate it, integrate the knowledge, and have a conclusion about this that's irrespective of what Ben Shapiro has written or what Joe Biden has said or what Carter's saying or what Kerry's saying. It doesn't matter. It's your job to judge it and use your own judgment and have an integrated system. And when someone points out a contradiction, it's your job to resolve it. Not get mad at them, not storm off, not yell louder about it. It's a contradiction. Contradictions need to be resolved. It's your job to have an integrated, non-contradictory outlook on life. And that will be kind of a superpower. If you can do that, which is not impossible, if you can do that, it makes you immune to crazy stuff that comes from out of left field that gets proposed and we should all do this, we should all do that, blah, 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 blah. We should teach kids critical race theory. Right? Okay, well, you can take a very principled stance about why kids shouldn't be taught critical race theory. You can understand from a principled reason. But to do that, you've got to understand what collectivism is, what individualism is at their essence.
Yeah.
And why one's valid and one's not, which is why a lot of times I say I'm trying to channel Socrates, because Socrates obsessed about definitions, and definitions matter. Collectivism isn't singing Kumbaya as a community. That's not collectivism, right? Individualism isn't doing whatever you want all the time with no consequences, right? That's not what those things mean. So I'm not gonna lay out a system right now, but I think maybe, my friend was encouraging me to do this. Maybe what needs to happen is we need to talk more about, and maybe this will fall to me, more about how to build an integrated system, what that means and what it looks like. Because if you are going to use secondhand judgment to try and muddle your way through the increasing authoritarianism, you'll lose. They'll get you.
Oh,
because
yeah.
someone's judgment's going to be wrong, right? You got to use
Yeah.
your own judgment, and you've got to make sure you got to have the tools to protect yourself. Sorry,
You
go
can't
ahead.
just parrot things. You can't just parrot. You've left, and if you're someone who left wokeism or whatever, like you've left a cult that teaches you how to parrot. You can't then just bring that over here and be like, I'm just going to parrot people again. Like you have to know, like you said, have an understanding of what these things mean, be able to define collectivism and individualism in your own words, right, and like really understand it and most people don't, especially the masses and the people who are in the cult, they can't do that. This is not a super chat. I just saw it, but Rib Rockgut in the chat said the big problem with wokies is that they've never examined or defended the principles that have made our modern civilization. Most of us take all this for granted. You're right. They have not. They can't define what a right is. They can't define what authoritarianism is. Most of them can't even define fascism, even though they use that word all the time.
That's right.
They can't define Marxism, even though they preach it. Like, that's why they don't know that's what they're preaching, because they don't know what Marxism is.
No, in fact, and they've been told that, you're ridiculous for saying the word. Anyone who says it's Marxist is ridiculous, and you can dismiss them out of hand.